The biggest pillar in your health is fitness, and it's the first thing that I would recommend to anyone that wants to improve their health or prevent chronic diseases or manage chronic diseases. It's exercise. Exercise is good for your heart, it's good for your lungs, it's good for your brain, it's good for every single thing in your body. And it's one of the things I really want to focus on with this channel, which is why since January I have really committed and tried to stick to a bit of a routine. So that's been going great. That's not really what this video is about. There's one thing that I've run into along the way, and that is protein intake. So with that being said, today's focus is actually going to be about protein, and more specifically how that helps with your muscles, with muscle recovery, muscle maintenance, and muscle growth. And the reason I'm focusing on protein today is because it's one of the biggest issues that I've run into personally with progress in the gym for myself. And that's because I've been doing this for about 10 years, not consistently, clearly. But when I was 19, I didn't have to care about protein at all. I didn't count how many grams of protein I was having. I didn't try and meet daily targets. I just went to the gym, did my exercises, and went home and carried on with my life. And I saw progress. I didn't have to care. My body was so primed and ready to go. It didn't need the nutrition or anything like that. It just adapted and grew. Fast forward 10 years later, it's not the same. So now I'm much more sore, I'm recovering slower, I'm growing slower, and I need to actually pay attention to how I'm fueling my muscles so that I get the best results and that my efforts don't go to waste. So I spent a little bit of time learning more about protein, what it does, how it works, why it's so important, and it's something that I've really tried to pay attention to and get right. And so I thought I would share what I've found for anyone that wants to learn along with me. So yeah, today we're talking about protein, so let's get into it. Hi everyone, it's Carmony from Longgame.haf. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I put out videos to help educate you on all kinds of health topics so that you have all the information you need to help make decisions about how to change your lifestyle to have the best health outcomes. So if that sounds good to you, subscribe. Now let's get back to the video. So protein, they're one of the 3 macronutrients. And when it comes to nutrition, you have macronutrients and micronutrients. So your macronutrients, they are carbohydrates, fats, and protein. And then your micronutrients are your vitamins and your minerals, and a balanced diet makes sure that you have all of these nutrients that you need. But today the focus is protein, and protein is pretty much the workhorse of your body. It is needed for every single thing. You are not alive if you do not have enough protein. And I probably say that about all the nutrients, and it's kind of true, but with protein, you just need it. It is the building blocks of life. So we can't actually talk about protein without first talking about amino acids. And that's because every single protein inside your body is made up of amino acids. They're made up of chains of amino acids put together, and that's where you get your whole protein. Now there are 20 different amino acids in total, and basically it is different combinations of these amino acids that give you every single protein that exists in your body. Now these amino acids, they're important when it comes to nutrition, because when you eat protein, you want to make sure that you are getting all of the amino acids that you need so that your body can use them to make the proteins you need. So amino acids, they're split into 2 different categories: essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. So essential amino acids are all of the amino acids that you must get from your diet. Your body has no other way of producing these amino acids, and if you don't get them from your diet, you cannot make the proteins that need them. Now, non-essential amino acids, these are the amino acids that your body can make on its own. So that means you do not necessarily need to get these ones from your diet. So I'll put up different lists here. You've got your essential amino acids, these are the ones you need from your diet, and your non-essential amino acids, these are the ones you do not need directly from your diet. Great to get them anyway though. And that's why you need to pay attention to the types of protein you're eating, because some sources of protein contain only some of these essential amino acids, and if you don't get the complete set, that can lead to some problems for your health. So first things first, your muscles are made primarily out of protein. Muscle is actually 75% water, but 20% of it is muscle, 5% is carbohydrate, and only 1 to 2% is fat. So out of all the macronutrients, you can see that protein is the one that is mainly concerned when we are talking about muscles. And there's 3 main things that muscles need protein for: growth, maintenance, and repair. So there are actually 2 main proteins that are involved in your muscles, and they are called actin and myosin. These are the 2 proteins that are inside every single muscle. Your muscles essentially are made out of bundles of muscle fibers, and so within those fibers are those 2 proteins, actin and myosin. And at a very basic level, if you want more muscle, you need more actin and myosin. These 2 are proteins that require amino acids that you need to get from your diet in order to make more of them. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. So that's just the crux of it all. And when you actually work out your muscles, whether that is lifting heavy weights or sprinting or whatever exercise it is that you do, you will cause little micro tears in these muscle fibers, and repair will need to happen. So if you're repairing these, again, you need more proteins or more amino acids to build the proteins that are contained within these muscles. And considering the majority of amino acids are essential amino acids, you're going to need them from your diet. You're going to have to eat enough protein. Even if you're not trying to build muscle, you still need protein, and that's simply because even to just do your daily activities, getting up from a chair, going for a walk, going to work, doing anything requires muscles. I'm not just talking about the muscles that you need to lift weights or whatever. Every movement requires muscle, and so protein is essential for everything. So with that all being said, the big important question that everyone wants answered is, how much protein do you actually need? And that actually isn't such a simple question to answer. So protein requirements are a very individual thing. You and I are going to have very different protein requirements. And that is because your age, your weight, your gender, and your own specific personal goals will determine how much protein you need to be eating on a day-to-day basis. So, starting with age. I've already said before, the older you get, the more protein you'll probably need to have, because age-related muscle loss will start to occur from about 50 years onwards. So, people over 60, over 65 usually will need more protein than those younger than them. Gender also has an impact. Women tend to need less protein than men. The amount is a very tiny difference though, to be honest. Most protein requirements are also weight-based, so it will have grams per kilogram per day. So your weight is going to be different from other people, so it will be different. And your goals make a huge difference. So if you're trying to just maintain health and just go about your life, your protein requirements aren't going to be too high. They're going to be your standard protein requirements. But if you're someone who is potentially a bodybuilder, someone who's really trying to pack on some muscle mass, they're going to be having very large protein requirements, and they'll be higher than your general population requirements. And weight loss. If you're trying to lose weight, you need more protein than the average person. And that is because if you don't have enough protein, your body's not going to sacrifice its body fat, it's going to sacrifice its muscle as well. And you do not want to lose your muscle mass in a weight loss journey. That has implications for your health. You want to make sure you are losing as much body fat as you can if weight loss is the goal. And in order to do that, you need to make sure you're eating enough protein to preserve as much of your muscle mass as you can and get the best results for your health. Now, myself personally, right now, I am trying to cut off a little bit of body fat, and that's because the last 3 years has been a bit of a long-winded bulk. I'm hoping there is some muscle lying beneath some of this body fat. So technically, if my goal is weight loss and body fat loss, I need to be having more protein than the average person. So what I'm going to do is just run through an example calculation of how much protein I may need. And I get most of my nutrient intake requirements from the nutrient reference values websites for Australia and New Zealand. Hopefully it's appearing somewhere on the screen here. And as you can see, it has protein requirements for children, teenagers, and also adults and elderly adults. I'm just focusing on the 18 plus group. That's where I fit in. So according to this, the amount of protein that I need is, I'm in the 19 to 30-year-old woman group, so the amount of protein that I need is 46 grams per day or 0.75 grams per kilograms. Now I always use the grams per kilogram calculation because the stock standard number that they give, it's just not as accurate. You need to go based on your own weight for a more accurate result. So for me, I'm about 54 kilos at the moment. So let's use that. Let's do some maths. 54 times 0.75. Yeah, 40.5 grams of protein per day. So according to the Australian Nutrient Guidelines, me, based on my gender and my weight, I need 40.5 grams of protein per day. But I did say before, I am trying to lose some body fat. So I can't technically follow this and get the results that I want for my goals. I'm going to need to up my protein a little bit. Now, the reason when you are trying to lose body fat that protein intake becomes so important is because, like I said, you'll be in a calorie deficit and you won't be eating enough food to match what your body is requiring for energy intake. And when that happens, your body thinks it's starving. It starts to break down its own tissue to fuel itself and provide energy. So it may break down carbohydrate stores like glycogen, and that's your short-term energy reservoirs, and that'll fuel you up for I think 18 hours if you are actually in a starvation state. And then it will turn to the other two sources, which are fats and proteins, which you have around your body. And so if you have enough protein coming into your diet, even if you aren't meeting those energy requirements and you're still in the calorie deficit, your body is less likely to break down muscle because it's still going, okay, I have protein coming in. I don't need to start breaking down muscle. I can break down the glycogen stores, I can break down the fat stores, and it preserves your muscle. It's not to say that you won't lose any muscle. You probably will. That's just part of weight loss. Weight loss and fat loss are two different things. It'll happen, but that's why you need to make sure you're eating enough of certain nutrients, eating enough protein to make sure that you preserve as much muscle and lose the body fat. And this is when it becomes a bit of the Wild West in terms of how much protein do you need. I've seen some people say you need 2.5 grams to 3 grams per kilogram. That is way too much for me. Maybe in the really extreme elite bodybuilding level, that may be a thing. But for me personally, I'm just trying to lose a little bit of body fat, trying to gain some muscle. If my usual intake needs to be around 0.75, 0.8 grams per kilogram, I'm just going to up it a little bit to a maximum of about 1.5. I think I'll go in the middle though to 1.2 grams per kilogram, and that'll be enough protein for me, which ends up being about 65 grams of protein per day that I need to aim for. So it's not excessive. I used to have in my mind that you needed an excessive amount of protein if you wanted to see some sort of progress. And for the last few months, I have been aiming for about that amount of protein, 50 to 60 grams a day. And I've definitely seen a little bit of progress. So I'm sticking to that. I'm trying to make it, again, sustainable. That's kind of how I do things, because if I had to try and eat 80 or so grams of protein a day, I would never hit that and I would give up pretty quickly. But right now, with a goal of about 60 grams, I can definitely space that out throughout the day in a pretty achievable way that I can hit that goal, and then I'm seeing the progress in the gym. So it's all helping me motivate myself to get those results. It's like I said, it's a very, very individual thing. So just be careful when you are scrolling through social media and you come across someone on TikTok or whatever it is saying you need to be eating X amount of protein, otherwise you're not going to see any gains or you're not going to see any progress. Their goals may not be suited to you. Their weight will be different to you. It's just not the same. So figure out what it is for yourself and then go from there. If you need any help trying to figure out how much protein you specifically need, leave a comment. I can try and help as well. So where do you get protein from? That is the other big question to answer, and mainly it is animal-based products. So meat like beef, chicken, lamb, pork, even eggs. They're great sources of protein and where you can really get a good amount from a serve. You can also get protein from plant-based sources, so things like beans, lentils, tofu, chickpeas, peanuts and pumpkin seeds. There's lots of different sources there. I will just slightly touch on the difference between complete and incomplete sources of protein. So as I mentioned previously, you need to make sure that you're getting the full range of amino acids from the protein sources that you are eating. So what I mean by that is the essential amino acids, you must get them from your diet. And a complete source of protein means that that one serve of protein or that protein source on its own gives you the entire set of essential amino acids, so that you don't need to play a bit of a balancing act and go, okay, I'll have this and then I'll have this food and then I get all my amino acids. The complete protein source has every single amino acid that you need, and you can just eat that and you are pretty good to go. Now your animal-based products, so your meats, so it's steaks, chicken, pork, they are complete sources of protein. So it's easier to get the protein that you need eating those animal-based products. But that doesn't mean that you can't get the amount of protein you need eating plant-based only. It just means you need to be a little bit more onto it to make sure that you are eating enough variety of plant-based foods to get the amount of protein that you need, or to get the full set of amino acids. Because plant-based protein sources, they are considered incomplete protein sources because they don't have the entire set of essential amino acids. So yeah, but what I'm going to do now, I've got some sources of protein in front of me. This is all animal-based, unfortunately, but I'm just going to go through some examples in terms of serving sizes and amounts to make it a little bit easier for you to understand what you need to eat to hit certain protein amounts. So 1 cup of milk or 2 slices of cheese can actually give you 10 grams of protein, so that's a pretty reasonable amount for a quick snack if it's cheese. 3 eggs will give you 20 grams of protein. A 100 gram steak is the big boy, that will give you 30 grams of protein. And I'm actually holding in my hand though. Yeah, this entire thing is 300 grams, and that's like 2 pieces of steak, so not as much steak as I thought you would need for 30 grams. 100 grams of beef will give you 30 grams of protein. The reason I went through that, and I'll put a little table on here as well with a few more examples of, you know, how much protein is in a serve or in a certain amount of protein. The reason I did that is because I found it a bit difficult to figure out how much I needed to eat, because again, I had in my head that you needed to eat a lot of chicken or a lot of meat to get the amount of protein that you needed, just based on what I was seeing on social media. It's actually not that much. You can easily space it out through the day, potentially without even turning to protein supplements or things like that. I'm not saying protein supplements are bad, I definitely use them. It's just that ideally you get the protein that you need from food sources, and if you can't quite hit the amount that you're needing, then turn to supplements. So there are days where I'll do the math in my head as I'm going towards the end of the day, and I'll think, okay, I'm not going to hit the amount of protein that I need, so then I'll have a protein shake just to help me out. And that's 20 grams just like that. That's like a third of what I need. So for me, protein shakes are a pretty big amount. For others, it may just be a tiny amount. So yeah, hopefully this little section was helpful to show you where you can get your protein from. If you want me to go a little bit more in depth with this, let me know in the comments. I can definitely do that. I just need to do a grocery shop. So that does bring me to the end of this video. I've sort of talked through what I wanted to with protein, and I hope that you have learnt something in terms of why protein is important for your muscles with growth and repair, why it's important if you're trying to lose body fat, and of course how much protein you need and where you can get it from. These are all things that I've learnt just more in depth the last few weeks, or the last couple of months really, and I'm still trying to figure it out and trying to put these things into practice. I'm definitely not doing it perfectly, but it's just my own personal journey, and like I said, you guys are welcome to join. The main thing is to get moving and do some movement increase the amount of physical activity that you're doing, and make sure that you're fueling your body appropriately to be able to do that. If you did enjoy it, or if you did learn something, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions or want me to talk about anything else, put that in the comments. I will see you in the next video, and until then, keep playing the long game.